Hey, Jeff. Great to see
Hey,
you, man.
great to see you too, David.
Yeah, we've been on this journey for quite some time, haven't we?
We have been on this journey, starting from the very beginnings of Google Glass and when augmented reality was just kind of like a dream that you saw in the movies. And now here we are. You and I have been in this area of of customer interactions and human interactions meeting technology for well over a decade now. And here we are still together talking about the next chapter.
Yeah, it's great to be able to partner. Oracle, obviously, my roots go deep and back into Oracle, and proud to be saying that we're kicking off a partnership together because it really does. It takes a village, and being with TechSee and being part of an innovative young technology company, being able to get that solution to market in the context of Oracle and everything you guys have done and are doing is just it's amazing. Thank you for the support and the partnership, and really excited to be here and talking about it today.
Yeah, likewise. And Oracle is very excited to be working with TechSee because the younger companies bring such a new perspective. I mean, we've been around for decades, but anytime we engage with a company like TechSee, it allows us to look at our history, reevaluate how we do things, come up with something new. I mean, it's fun to go experiment in the lab and see how far we can take both our products.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe that's like a great place to start. When I think about AR and the AR revolution, I've been immersed in it for the past 2 years with TechSee, and obviously, as we said, we've been experimenting with it going back over 10 years, back to when we worked together. But what does it mean for Oracle today? What does AR mean in relation to the service portfolio and the solutions that you guys are bringing to your customers?
Yeah. Well, I mean, since I look after our service products and for everybody out there, when we say Oracle Service and I'm Vice President of Product Management, we're looking at our contact center products, our digital customer service products, our field service products, our knowledge products, all of the complete portfolio of things you need to deliver outstanding service. And at Oracle, when we look at how we're designing the next generation of our products, we take a digital first approach. Digital first being, we believe all of the customer's problem, the entire problem, you should be able to solve it in a digital world. Now, just think about what that means, right? We went from just not even 20 years ago to it was revolutionary that you could actually deposit a check online without having to go into a bank and change all our worlds. Once people got a taste of that level of self-service, whether it be a business or an individual consumer, it's so much more convenient. It was freeing. It was liberating. And now we're jumping from, hey, I can reset my own password all the way up to, I want to fix my own air conditioner. I want to install my own insulation in my house. I want to change the oil filter on my car. I want to do all these different things. I want to recalibrate my solar panels. And that level of empowerment that customers are asking for when they're looking at service experiences puts a huge amount of strain on technology and the products that we deliver. But it really opens the door for things like augmented reality. And, a lot of people think about augmented reality. We talk about it a lot, like in field service, where it has such a massive ROI and impact almost immediately. But at Oracle, we're thinking about, somebody at home who's just trying to hook up their game console, or someone who's trying to learn how to cook and, trying to figure out the right measurements and everything like that. Augmented reality can play a part in every bit of it. So working with companies like TechSee, we think it's going to elevate our entire customer experience portfolio.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and very aligned with our vision. If you think about where service was, it used to be send someone on site, and then we invented these cool things called telephones, and suddenly you had remote service. And as you look at the adoption of these new technologies and companies starting to set up first, web portals and omni-channel as an aspiration, but multi-channel as a reality, you still have this notion that service was blind. It didn't even have visual, let alone enhanced visual like AR. And so the ability to create visual channels between customers and their service providers as you said, coincided really well with this DIY movement, right? People
Yeah.
have the ability and they want to, and to be able to, as a service provider, give them the guidance without having to send someone on site or tie someone up over the phone saying, explain it to me. Just that basic visual channel becomes a great facilitator, right? Huge customer satisfaction improvement and a major cost savings, as you mentioned. Add AR on top of that, and you start to create a much higher level of interaction. And so you're talking about it in consumer service. I think you probably see that happening, as you said, in the field as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Some of the use cases?
Yeah. And I mean, well, I want to build on your point. During the lockdown and stuff, we all started doing a lot more do-it-yourself stuff at home as individual consumers. The last three things I purchased, I was doing some work on my Jeep, and part came. There's no instruction manual anymore. There was just a little QBR code, and I would scan it, and it took me to a YouTube video. And of course, the YouTube video, it was way better than the printed instructions, tab A, tab B, it's written in 20 languages. I always end up on the page that's French, and I have to go figure out, where it was. But it was still, you're stopping, you're starting, you're like rewinding to get certain parts and stuff like that. And I'm like, we are 1 inch away from that AR experience. And I wanted to call up all these vendors and say, could you just please go talk to TechSee? And, you could really, you're almost there, guys. You are almost there. Just one more step and this will be perfect. But with that, in that kind of those visuals coming in, what I tell a lot of people too is like, that was a personal consumer experience for mine. I don't have a different brain when I go to work. If I'm going to work and we're trying to create a demo or rack and stack some servers for, a private cloud that we're building or the various things Oracle does, I want the exact same experience. I want all that AR, I want all that in there. And I think field people should be enabled for it as well. And the third concept that we also need to consider when you're looking at these technologies and is that the next generation of people who are using them are already trained on this stuff. So when we're coming in and we have like Gen Zs coming into the workforce and various things like that, they've never lived in a world where they didn't have a camera on their phone. And they've never lived in a world where they couldn't annotate stuff with their finger. And they've never lived in a world where they weren't in visual contact with everybody they've ever met in their entire life. My kids won't talk to me on the phone. They have to FaceTime. It's weird just to hear voice. All those things coming together, that's really, really pushing both our companies into the space and what we need to design. I'm worried I didn't answer your question because I went on a big rant there.
No, but it's great insight. And it brings me back to the first time my daughter, when she was young, grabbed my phone, took pictures of herself and started marking her up with bunny ears and all sorts. And that AR interaction, as you say, it's native to the digital first generation. And so it becomes a real part of the population. It's a value add. Part of the population, it's a base expectation. And so as we try as service providers to be relevant to the next generation of workers, not just consumers, but workers, they need these tools because this is how they get through the world, as you said.
Yeah. And like I said, it's what is, I've talked to customers when who are looking at AR solutions, and they're like, well, how do I enable everybody on this? How do I train them to use it? How do I get them to go away from the old ways into the new ways and stuff like that? I'm like, don't worry about like re-educating them, because you're already unleashing their potential, because another company's already taught them how to do this. When they put the bunny ears on their picture, that was their intro to AR 101 computer class. They probably know a lot more about it than you do, and this stuff can spread like wildfire. So that's where it's going to, I think it's going to have an impact across all of our lives, all of our businesses. But there's the other thing too, is like, if I go all the way back to like, putting on product development hat, what we're creating, we ask ourselves the questions when we take a digital first approach. Is there a way to solve this completely in the digital world? And now this isn't just for a consumer. This is like, maybe there's a field technician who's out there hanging off the side of a wind turbine, and we don't want him to have to climb all the way down, and he ran into a very technical problem. How do we solve it for him? How do we solve it for an agent on the phone? How do we solve it for somebody who wants to do it all themselves? Can we solve those personas problems in a digital world? Well, spreading all the way up through that concept, when we introduce AR, there's very few problems you cannot solve in the digital world.
Yeah, for sure. And that's where I think the progression from remote service via voice, right, with visual, just basic videos. You said we all went through COVID. We all spent a lot of time on Zoom or WebEx or whatever our preferred platform was, Google Meet, and these things all created this visual expectation. Sometimes we wish we could get away from it. The enhancement, the addition of AR, creating that level of precision and interaction. And as we said, but that's for us old folk, right? The next generation expects it. So I am still interested, back to my question, we understand where it helps you as a consumer fix your Jeep or your printer or your computer or anything where you can get visual guidance with AR overlay. Where do you think it really adds value for the workforce, for those technicians in the field trying to be productive every day, swimming upstream against, because not just the burden on technology, but the burden on the workforce that you mentioned is really, I think, where this can have an impact.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you think about it, we've moved, like at Oracle, we moved from a waterfall to an agile development methodology of our software. Manufacturers have done the same thing now. And where every single product that rolls off the product line will be a little bit better than the generation before. They're constantly tweaking it. But this puts an immense stress on workers and worker productivity, because the minute they get trained on a particular piece of equipment, a particular piece of a maintenance process or something like that, the product may change in the next month. And so you also have to move into a constant level of agile enablement, right? No longer are the days where you bring everybody in, you train them for 2 weeks on how to do all these repairs, get them up to speed, and then send them out in the field, because their training goes out the window just a few months later. AR will allow you to do that constant enablement, because you can think about it as like, you can do show me, explain it to me, and then finally just teach me, walk me through it, and all these different AR scenarios, which allows your field to get up to speed at the same pace of your innovation. The other thing, keep in mind though, with this, we've had some major changes in human behavior from the information age, to where if I take a Gen Z person, they need to see something 7 or 8 times before they'll commit it to memory, just because of all the stuff that's bombarding them at any moment.
Yeah, digital enablement meets digital distraction, right?
Yeah, exactly. And which sounds terrible, because you're like, wait a minute. So if I bring this guy in and I train him on, have my best guy train him on how to make a field repair or do an installation of something, he's not going to retain any of it? I'm like, absolutely not. However, he can look something up and find an answer in real time quicker than you and I ever would be able to.